Good evening. It's 6 p.m., and I'd like to call the meeting of the Water Commission for today, Tuesday, June 17th, to order at 6 p.m. I see that all commissioners are present. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Item number 3, citizens' comment period. Do we have anybody signed up or anything sent in to be read? Okay. Item number 4, getting into business items, approvals. If everybody's had an opportunity to review the minutes of our last meeting, which was June 17th, does anyone have any corrections to the minutes that are provided in your packet? If not, may I have a motion to approve?
I move to approve the minute. Sorry. I move to approve the minutes as written.
Thank you. And a second.
Second.
All in favor, indicate aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Item B, discussion, reports, updates. Stephen, the floor is yours.
Good evening, Commissioners. For the month of July, we pumped 18.13 acre feet out of the Edwards with a year-to-date total of 120.5 with available 385. At the time, the report, Edwards was in stage 3, now they're in stage 4. Trinity well, we pumped 38.22 acre feet with a year-to-date total of 302.6 acre feet. All water quality distribution samples came back good. Water loss was at 1.7%. Work orders, that's wrong. Okay. That's actually more than that. It's probably like 48. With locates 49. AMI information, total portal customers 922, up 10 from June. Meter daily readability percentages 98.97% for 1,694 assigned meters. We did have one main break at 2252 at 3009. Estimated loss was about 200,000. What happened was when the contractors were digging a trench for the new water line where it's being relocated at, it looked like there was a bind on the existing water main. It looked like it was under a binding tension, so whenever the dirt was moved from next to it, it was free to move a different direction, and there was a weak point next to the valve, so it was probably offset from the valve probably about 11 inches. So it was basically a that big of a, so that was basically a full-fledged 12-inch water cannon at the time when that busted. No leak adjustments reported, and that's all I really have to report for the month of July.
Thank you, Stephen. Starting on my left, any questions, comments?
When solid goes in stage 4, we lose our allocation.
Yeah, whenever Edwards goes into stage 4, we lose 0.71 acre feet a day.
But when they go back, when they go to 3, do we get it back?
No.
Otherwise, we're losing every time they go back, bounce back and forth.
Yes.
Okay. So we have no recourse.
No. Until the new year starts, and then we start back at 653 acre feet.
Thank you, Stephen. Item 2, items applicable to the Water Commission discussed at city council meetings. There's been 2 meetings since we last met. From the July 2nd meeting, the $4 base and 4% tier increase recommended by the Water Commission was approved. From the August 6th meeting, during the first citizen comment period, a resident requested consideration of a water rate reduction for seniors and disabled veterans. Again, the policy of the council, they can absorb these comments. There was no discourse or anything, but I thought that was be of interest to you. And secondly, Jim Mueller was appointed the ex officio city council member to the Water Commission. Welcome, Jim. Thank you. Look forward to your guidance and experience. Item number 3, ordinance number 61, and this is really, I think, the meat of our meeting tonight. You all had received the last drafts that I had sent out, along with an email that highlighted the changes that I made. What's happened since the last review and this one is that I had sent it to the city attorney, who came back with comments. I sat down and met. There weren't really comments about so much the substance of the changes, but about harmonizing with other ordinances. So as you read and saw, a number of my changes were made to pick up definitions from ordinance 54 and 13, which are the two main ordinances that sort of abut 61, and a couple other things that I indicated. The goal tonight would be to hopefully identify any final changes, comments that you might have, and actually try to get exact wording that I can incorporate, because my goal would be then, when we're done, is to ask for a motion to, for a recommendation to present this to City Council for review and approval. And that's sort of the timeline that we've talked about. So, dealing with 61, I'll just start with whoever would like to provide any comments, questions, so on.
I can start. Nobody
Sure,
else is
please,
ready?
go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I had a couple minor typos and nits that I won't go through, and I'll mark up a draft and get those into you. It's just.
Okay, is there anything of substance that should really be discussed with
Yes.
the commission? Because what I want to do
Yeah.
is get everybody
Right.
agreeing to as written with the changes discussed tonight.
Right.
And I'll do a final.
Sure, yeah,
version
one of the
and
big
send it.
questions I had was on the variance process.
Okay.
In the, I guess, Appendix B, Item 7, it talks about the special variance is not approved by the city. A person may submit a variance request as described in Section 7 of this ordinance. And it wasn't clear to me that the, or really what that variance process is. I mean, is the intent that all variance requests, either under Appendix B, new landscape, special conditions, or bill adjustments, first go to the city, which would mean city staff, as I understand it. If denied by the city, then appeal to the Water Commission. Water Commission recommends action to council, either approve or deny. And if recommended to deny, then the individual can take it directly to the council. So I guess, to me, that appeal process of a city denial is not clear or set out in sufficient detail in Section 7.
Okay.
And if I'm missing something, then please, please help me.
I had, except for a couple of minor, I don't want to say minor, small changes, I had not really spent any time really looking at or changing the basic Section 7 on variances. I guess I want to back up and make sure, under Appendix B, the goal here is to provide a safety valve, so to speak. In other words, if you want to do this landscaping
Sure.
process and submit it,
Right.
and the city says, for whatever reason, no, a resident still can go through the regular ordinance 7 process. That was That was the intent of that statement.
Okay.
And I can clear that up if that's not clear. If it's something, then once you go to section 7 for variances, maybe guide me to what particular area or the commission where you're looking.
I can help on that if you want.
Yeah, Kevin, please. Absolutely, this is an open discussion.
Yeah, so the section 7 variances for any variance that can be asked, and if you read down through when it may be granted in terms and conditions, you'll see that the only body that can approve a variance is city council. So the normal process would be they turn into the city, it comes before the water board for recommendation, and then it goes to city council. Everything in Appendix B is a special variance that can be approved by the city manager without going anywhere else. So if the city manager says no, then all this is saying is they can still use the normal variance process up through city council. So maybe tweak the words, but they're supposedly two completely separate things.
That was my intent, that
Okay.
no matter what the outcome of a discussion with the city for this, a special variance for either landscaping or pressure washing, that if it was denied, just as with any variance that's ever come before us, a resident can do that.
Perhaps on the Appendix B part under Section 7, it
Yeah.
could be changed to say if the special variance is not approved by the city manager, a designated representative. Just use the same language that's in
Okay.
the first paragraph. Then
All right.
that might make that clear, that we're not talking about the city council.
Okay.
Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah. Yeah. It's just what,
Oh, it is not approved by, okay, I'll,
because
So the
appendix,
same sentence at the very top where it says the city manager or their designated representative,
yeah,
just use that same phrase.
great. I'll asterisk that, I'll incorporate that, no problem.
so appendix,
Yeah.
appendix B is just for those two cases, new landscaping or washing impervious surface.
That's correct.
And then if they're not resolved to the resident's satisfaction, then it goes into the all other variance request
That's
avenue.
correct. That's
Okay.
correct, yes.
All right, I'm good with that.
Okay.
And then on, oh, and the section, I guess the last section, number 4, under, I'm in Appendix B.
Okay.
Again, usage will be charged at the rates in effect for that stage. Water use is restricted to 5,000 gallons per approved request. And I guess the question that occurred to me is, how is this going to be monitored versus normal use?
Yeah, I wrestled with that. There is no way, but I felt it was appropriate to put some limit on that. And I certainly am open to that because we're not gonna have a special meter reading or something like that.
No.
I'll further complicate it in that some people that do contract impervious service cleaning bring their own water with them, and they're obviously excluded from this. That's not uncommon to see a trailer roll up with tanks on them and they wash it using their water. That didn't occur to me until just, till today,
Right.
thinking about it. I saw an advertisement for one, made me think about it.
Yeah.
The short answer is, I don't have a good answer for that, but I felt it was appropriate to put some
Okay.
limitation on it.
Right. I think this, in the spirit of the ordinance,
That's,
it needs, I agree, there needs to be some amount in there.
Yeah.
It's just, policing is going to be difficult.
It is. Again, I'd be open to a suggestion. I wanted to put something in there, but didn't have any, I ran out of airspeed and ideas.
So I'll give you a couple. I don't know if it'll be any better.
Yeah.
But I do agree that 5,000 gallons is unenforceable and completely arbitrary. And any gallons you put in there is gonna be equally unenforceable and arbitrary. So I don't think we should have any of that type. The issue, if I understand your email, was this, the attorney was concerned about the city's decision being arbitrary. So I think the criteria should be on the city as far as what they need to look at to give the approval. So you could add things like the city manager will consider the number of simultaneous requests, the burden to the pumping capacity, overall status of the system infrastructure, and determine whether or not it would impose a burden. And that should be the standard. Is this additional washing going to impose a burden? If not, there's no reason for the city to not approve it.
Right. Yeah, the discussion with the city attorney was, I didn't really get anything, it didn't even occur to me. I mean, everybody knows what washing a sidewalk is, and the city would either, I couldn't conceive of a situation where they wouldn't approve it unless it was something very obvious, because all that's known is what's stated in the application. I want to keep, my goal would be to try and keep it simple and workable, particularly for Stephen, who'll probably be the gentleman designated to do this. Just scratch the restriction on water usage being not enforceable and just keep it simpler.
Well, I think that doesn't accomplish the purpose the city attorney was wanting to accomplish, which is the arbitrary part.
Yeah, that was, I added this not because of her, but because thinking
Yeah.
about conserving water, but I couldn't, well,
I mean, I said, you could put a statement at the very beginning, or at the very end, that just says to the city manager, when considering special variances, they should consider the number of simultaneous requests, the impact it would have on the city's,
okay.
Pumping capacity or infrastructure, and the standard should be, it should not impose a substantial burden on any other customer.
And that should apply really to both to the landscaping part and.
Right,
this.
so it
Okay,
could be like
all
up
right.
front or at the
Okay.
very end, but that
All right.
removes the arbitrary thing. So now it's not like, well, I just don't like you, so I want to approve yours.
Yeah,
Right, it gives them some sort of leg to stand on.
okay,
The attorney may or may not like that particular wording, but it at least addresses the arbitrary problem without
Yeah.
being unenforceable.
okay. I think I can come up with some appropriate words for that. Okay, thank you.
On the same line,
Yeah.
I
That's all
don't-
for me, by the way.
okay, sorry.
I yield.
Yeah.
I yield
don't-
my time.
We added in, we keep trying to add in, you can only do it once per year or twice per year or whatever for these variances, and I don't understand the purpose of that, because you might not even be in that drought stage for 2 years. I mean, we have been now, but to me, it's not whether or not a person has done it more than once, it's do we have the capacity and what is the impact on our drought management plan? So whether it's 1 year, 2 year, they all seem to me to be kind of arbitrary and not really necessary. So my vote would be to not have it at all.
Okay. And given that we'd put a more general clause where the city manager has the discretion to look at the total thing, I don't have a problem with removing that. Again, my focus has been on conservation. I can't imagine doing a project like this more than once a year. If everybody else is okay, we'll strike 6, which is once per year for landscaping, and request once every 2 years for impervious surface washing, which is item 2. We'll take those out and replace it with that clause.
And
Is that-
if other commissioners feel like that, they want to address that in some way, then I would put that as a criteria for the city manager, like consider the requester's past history, and if felt, that, and if excessive,
Yeah.
then they can always deny it, and then they can come to the normal to the other process, right?
Uh-huh.
So there's still an out. I'm not necessarily saying that's I'm saying if you guys have a problem with it, I don't have a problem not having it at all.
No, that's fine. I'm making some notes here. I mean, you're right. Past history, you know, has somebody gotten one of these and abused it, you know, and a month later wants another one to landscape another part of the yard. That seems to me to be within the purview of the city manager, of the utility manager to deal with. Okay. Any other comments on 61? Okay.
Whoop, God, turn that thing off.
Stand by.
I'm going way back because I like to start, where am I? I'm lost. I like to start in definitions,
Okay.
and I'm back to a person. Because we define a person as any individual, association, firm, so on and so forth, and then we use it throughout here. So person supplies water to customers, a person is a person, business, public or private, which we've already defined here, if that's the definition of person. I just wonder if when we go through here, we couldn't use resident, individual, a different term and occasion than person, because you have a person holding a hose, and we have a lot of places on variances where any other person or group, I'm sorry, where am I? Well, I'm in 7, it's a variance, a person may file a written request, detailed explanation why a person believes they should be granted a variance, and within the person's personal knowledge, but a person is any individual, association, firm, corporation, entity, political subdivision, or government agency. And so, some places in here, I guess person is probably appropriate, but others, I wonder if it's too broad a definition when we get down to, yeah, handheld hose is tended by one person. Way up here in definitions under handheld hose, and that is, again, any individual, association, firm is holding a hose. So it's person is used here and in the other ordinances, and I just wonder if we need to, again, go through and try to, and I know it's difficult, but
The current definition of person, and I think, I'm trying to see where I had that in there. Oh, yeah, that's right out of ordinance 54. That was some of the stuff that the city attorney brought up. That, the intent clearly would be the same if you read the two, but I thought I'll take one that's in place to have some level of harmonization. I'll tell you beyond that, a person is characterized in these different manners, but when I've read through it again, because I've recognized your comments before, it still works. Is it the best way? I don't know. I don't know that we want to try and reinvent that right now, because I've read about a bunch of other ordinances, and the wording is similar. It's very clear what the spirit is. Is it pure and great? Probably all of them could be looked at. In fact, some ordinances don't even have definitions in them. I guess I'm going to probably recommend to the commission that that's probably not within the scope of what we're trying to do here. I know the city has some plans to try and, I'll call it, harmonize all of our ordinances as far as definitions and so on. I don't know where that stands.
okay.
Okay, so
Where it becomes a problem is in the handheld hose definition. So the question would be, number one, why do we care? I mean, it says held or attended by one person. Can't two people do it? I mean, do we care? And if we do care, maybe we should say individual instead of person, and then it doesn't conflict with the definition that you have. but I'm not sure why we even care.
Yeah, as some of this, you know, this is not a total rewrite. Some of this is adopted from words that existed before, and I felt if you understood what it is, I wasn't all that focused on making the English exactly proper. I mean, you're right. You could have 5 people hold the hose, but
It says attended. I mean, I don't know who's holding a handheld hose except maybe a resident or an individual
you know,
that's,
the problem is resident isn't defined and neither is individual in this. So, you know, I've sort of picked one.
define an individual as a
When a
person.
term is not defined, then it will legally just go by what is the common association or use of
Right.
those
I
terms.
mean,
So I don't
in
think
which-
you would need to define
In which case,
individual.
we could probably blow up all of these.
The reason person is in there is we've had problems in the past with associations and other groups claiming that restrictions didn't apply to them because they're not.
Well, and
Yeah.
I'm aware of that, and quite honestly, that's why I adopted the wording from another ordinance that had been more recently smithed.
I think the problem here is not the definition of the word person, it's then using the word person inconsistently in the restrictions. That's really the issue. And so like the handheld hose, if you just say at least one person, well, okay, at least one association's holding the hose. I agree, it doesn't make any difference. But then again, if it doesn't make a difference at all, why do we say it? I mean, if I have a hose that has a manual or automatic shut-off valve and I put it on the ground next to my plant and my wife and I are cycling in and out watching it to make sure it's not leaking, is that any worse for water conservation? I mean, I don't think it is.
Okay, well, I can change that.
Well, don't do it on my word. That's a-
Well, I mean, let me be clear, my goal tonight is to get a motion passed to get this before the city council, because there will be another set of comments from the council, I'm sure. But I'd like to get 95% of the way there, would be my goal. Yes, Ryan?
Chairman, I think in discussing with Mercer, our city secretary, is that in the past, at least, you know, me being new, that in the past, public hearings were held for revisions to ordinances like this. So I would suggest maybe next month, doing a public hearing and taking final action on the ordinance and sending it to council in October at this point.
I would need to talk to the attorney I just remember in the past, I don't know if it was because we were a general law city and maybe we don't have to anymore as a home rule, but there was a requirement at some point that we were required to hold a public hearing when we were amending the drought management plan specifically. That's not a requirement for all ordinances, but we've had to do that before for this ordinance number 61. And so I'm going under the assumption that that's probably still the same. Yes, we've changed to home rule since then, so maybe we don't have to, but I don't have that answer right now.
Did the commission hold the public hearing or the city council?
Last time, I believe it was both.
Okay, news to me. Okay, to wrap this up, maybe we're not as far along as I thought we were. I'll take a look at the handheld hose definition. At this point, unless there's really strong resistance, I really am not intending to modify the definition of person, because to create our own definition, I'm going against what's in another ordinance already. So that was part of, you know, in sitting down with the attorney and going through the related ordinances, it seemed to make sense.
I don't know so much if we create a new under handheld, if changing that to resident or individual would create it wouldn't change the definition of person. It would clarify the handheld hose definition, but I don't think it's not going to change the definition of person, which is where we're going to get into trouble in the future when associations and corporations and everyone comes out of the woodwork and wants to challenge parts of the ordinance.
Okay, I'll take a look at how some other cities have defined it. I've looked at this, and they basically read just like this. But I'll take a look at that and see what can be done. I mean, we do need a definition of the hose because of size and, you know, attendance and so on, but, okay.
Mr. Chair, what's your?
Yeah.
What are you hung up on with either getting rid of the word or changing it to resident or individual? What's the concern?
Really none, other than do I have to define individual? I mean, we have lots of words in here. Personally, I didn't think I needed to define person either, but, okay. I mean, if you're comfortable with that, we'll change that and move
I
on.
mean, you can even say a handheld hose as a hose held or attended.
Yep,
I mean,
by an individual, by one
I
individual.
could leave my dog out there as long as there's an automatic shut-off valve, you know?
All right. Yeah,
That's it?
okay.
I mean, on this.
Yeah, no.
Ready for the next round?
Yeah, no, let me just catch up with this. Marissa, will you get back to me regarding what we should be doing there? Because I have no problem scheduling something like that.
Yes,
Okay,
yeah.
Great. Okay, thank you.
Well, I want to get through the appendix A and B.
Oh, okay, all right.
And y'all hate me anyway, but I have to keep saying it until I get to vote on it. In Appendix A with the stage conditions under Stage 3, Item 4, I still strongly oppose tying anything to building permits. The issue is not whether or not there's a building permit. The issue is whether, what they use to fill the pool with. So I still recommend that we get rid of that part, and if we want to continue it, we just give the city manager authority to manage when they're allowed to do it. Like, I think we talked about making sure that there's not, you know, more than X number being done at a time or something along those lines. But the building permit process simply is not timely enough to go with this, in my view. But I know I'm a minority. I'm just expressing it one more time and open for your discussion.
Something along the lines of what you discussed earlier with the city manager and putting those kind of bounds on it.
I mean, I'd just say, stand by, gotta find it again.
Yeah.
See, it's only in Stage 3, so I would just say, no, city water will not be used for the filling of new swimming pools. And you just say you can't do it, and then if they need to do it, they can ask for a variance.
Okay. So one of the suggestions is for item 4 under Stage 3 is basically eliminate the current wording. Now, the wording does allow pools that were, well, it's the whole permitted thing.
Well, but that part's okay, because if I've already got the permit,
Yeah.
and then the stage changes, we're saying you can continue, right?
Yeah.
But if I didn't get the permit, well, now I can't fill the pool under Stage 3, but should it go down to Stage 2, you know, then we're okay. So then, in other words, they can go ahead and issue me the building permit, I just can't actually construct the pool until the drought stage goes back down. I can't get to the point of putting the water in it.
One of the things we talked about is the reality of building a pool is you have to put water in it. Any pool that's built around here today, once it's cured, you got to put water in it.
Once it's cured, but you can do all the ground prep, you can do all the, and then rebar, everything else, you can do all that stuff, you just can't fill it with water. If somebody wants to take that risk, that's their choice.
Okay.
This is my opinion. I've seen instances where we've been in stage 2 or whatever the case may be, and then goes into stage 3, nobody can get a permit, and all of a sudden it's back down, and it's 6 months before anything can get done because of the whole process. It's just not very timely. So
Okay.
if what we're trying to say is don't fill the pool, and I think that's what we should say, don't fill the pool, they can just hold on to their building permit until they can.
When push comes to shove, they can bring water in.
Does the city
From
have any
another
comment
source.
on the viability of that or your experience with that? I see some problems. Somebody gets a permit, that means they're gonna start building a pool. And now I can't fill it, you get a variance, and we go, we typically haven't granted a variance for that, because that was your choice to build it. I'm a little concerned that we open up a little bit of a can of worms.
I would allow a variance to fill the pool. I mean, that's me. Like we said before, the average pool is, filling that is less than 1 yard's worth of irrigation. So again, the issue is, how many do we do at once? That's really the issue. And I think that can be controlled other ways. It's not in here right now, and that's too complicated to fix in this one, but I just don't see how the building permit itself is tied to this process. And the permit could be worded, you can't fill it under stage 3, right?
That's,
So the permit could be valid for a year, and it could just say right on there, you can't fill it under stage 3
that's probably,
So,
You can't fill it with city water.
with
But
city water,
if
correct?
you can have the contingency in your construct to bring water in from another source.
I have issue with that. So I just built a pool, and we had to bring water in. It's coming from the same source. They're pulling from Edwards Aquifer, just outside of Garden Ridge. So we're losing out on 15,000 gallons of revenue for that customer. Because it's ultimately, we're affecting the same water source, so it's not conserving water for us. We're still pulling from the same amount, and now we've lost 15,000 gallons of revenue. I see no benefit in restricting that. It has no direct impact. Our pool is about 15,000 gallons, which is bigger than normal, I would say. So we have people using sprinklers over 40,000 gallons a month, so we're losing out on that revenue.
I'd be interested in Dr. Carmichael's opinion, since he's a professional in this area.
Thank you.
Chairman Dorsey, what would you like to see? What is your suggestion?
I agree that the no building permits has nothing to do with the restrictions. You could write something in there so that you need water at the plaster stage, right? So you can go and build all day long. That has no impact on the water restriction, but yeah, there should be probably some kind of stoppage at, hey, before you plaster, oh, by the way, can't fill it if that's what we're going for, right? Until it gets to stage 2 or something. But again, I think we're just losing out on the opportunity to sell water, and it's coming from the same source.
Understand, the stage we're talking about here is not the stage we're currently in. You pay 100% surcharge for excess water usage. I mean, 3 is, you're starting to dry out pretty good in stage 3.
Yep.
So I understand what you're saying. That's a real conundrum where the water comes from. But I think the idea is, and maybe this is where I need to go back and look at the wording, is you really ought not to be looking at something that's going to require water to build it, require water to fill it, when you're at stage 3, which is pretty much, when you can water every other week your lawn. So your lawn is dying. It's a restrictive time.
Chairman, was this
So-
ordinance reference from SAWS, or was this language or this ordinance modeled after SAWS? Because in stage 2, they have stage 2 restrictions of building a new pool for SAWS.
I've been through enough revisions. This was in our original ordinance, just
Okay.
what it read like, I don't know. I know we've massaged this quite a bit, but both New Braunfels SAWS have very similar wording to this. Exactly when they implemented, I couldn't tell you without going back to my
Because
document.
it's indicated here, new swimming pool is generally not permitted under stage 2 and higher restrictions
Yeah.
for saws. So,
I do know what's in here is not inconsistent with other areas. That was one of my goals in doing this. But, you know, we're a recommendation body. I mean, I believe this. I think this is clear. I think you're in stage 3, you shouldn't be issuing permits for a swimming pool. It says if it was built in stage 1 or 2, go ahead and fill it, because you need to do that. I don't know when your pool was permitted.
A couple months ago. Well,
Yeah.
what I was
Yeah.
just gonna say is, since I've lived here, we have not moved from stage 2, like the last meeting we
Right.
had when I was talking about revisiting the drought, right? So like, in reality, when are they actually gonna be moved to stage 3? Is that ever gonna actually happen? Probably not, if history tells us anything.
And a couple
I
years
would love
ago,
to
when
see
it
it.
was even worse than it is now, we never left stage 1, because that current administration felt you should just pay for the water extra. So it's a whole different
Okay,
issue.
gentlemen, let's try and focus here. I'm not trying to dismiss your comments. I mean, this is a gnarly one. But the other is we can let this go and see what, apparently if we're gonna do a public comment, see what that is. It is also my intention in presenting this to the city council is to comment on some of the gnarly areas. You know, we'll get into that with Xeriscape, where there is, you know, maybe there isn't consensus, but this is what the commission, this is what we're presenting. But note that this isn't a slam dunk, it's a tricky area. So that's another way, not just to boot it upstairs, but to maybe get some other broader thought on it. Sir?
Oh, no,
Okay.
I was just, if we find out that the public hearing is required, it may be the better route to, you know, again, have council do a public hearing as well, and the ordinances do go to the October meeting, only because we're tackling the budget as well at the September meeting, from that standpoint.
Okay. Before we leave this, I've absorbed everything from leaving, you know, taking permits out. I assume we're gonna leave in filling of pools with, construction filling of pools started at lower stages is permissible. So the proposal before us, or for me for revision, is to delete building permits, the requirement for no building permits in stage 3.
So, again, only saying this because if you're gonna delay it anyway, you might want to relook at it. But the SAWS information was generally not permitted, which implies they have a process to decide when it's okay. The other part, when we talked about this before, was just, and I don't think this is required in the ordinance itself, it's in the permitting process, is simply they could write the permit in 2 stages, right? You can get the permit to begin construction, and then it could have a requirement to go back and get the permit to fill it. And then the city just looks and sees how many people are trying to do it at once. And, you know, if it's one person that fills a pool in that 2 or 3 week period, that's not gonna have any impact whatsoever on the system or on our pumping capacity or any of that. So, but that would be more complicated to put in there. I don't like building permits in there, but I don't know that it's something that is unreasonable. Because, I mean, you are correct, in stage 3, a person should not really be filling a pool in stage 3. I mean, that is the bottom line, but.
Gentlemen, I'm gonna suggest this. We're probably not gonna vote on this tonight because it's gonna go most likely to a public hearing. I'm gonna leave this as it is. Your comments are noted, and we can certainly, you know, I can certainly look back again at SAWS and New Braunfels and a couple of the other related areas. This, to me, seemed consistent, but I don't wanna just blow off your points either.
Well, and to be clear, it is consistent. I'm not saying it's not consistent. I'm saying I don't like the idea.
Okay.
But that's just me,
Okay.
you know. I have no problem with the consistency.
Okay.
Michelle, do you happen to know how many pool permits have been issued this year so far? 1 for me. No. Less than 10?
Yeah,
Less than 5? Single digits.
I also just want to point out that we don't have a permit clerk on staff. So when you're talking about monitoring the number of permits specifically for pools, I'm not sure that that's feasible with the current staff that we have unless we were to add another position. We also have our building inspectors are not city employees. We contract with the company to do our inspections. So just keep those things in mind when you're considering who's going to track these and keep and manage them. And I think the reason that the no building permits will be issued is it's a way to not allow somebody to fill their pool even if they wanted to. If you issue the building permit and just hope that they don't fill the pool, it's a little different than not issuing the building permit at all. They can't build the pool at that point, and they can't fill the pool.
Right.
But if you just issue the permit and say, don't fill the pool, are they going to? We don't know.
Right. The other thing I might want to point out, we have all heard variances come before us where your heart goes out, but for consistency's sake, the variance is not approved. I added some words, and it's not in the discussion tonight, I couldn't even point out exactly where they are, that gives us, as a recommending body, a little more latitude to consider unique or unusual circumstances. I'm trying to think, you mean, I could even consider, somebody who needs to put in a pool, a therapy pool, they need it for some physical conditioning or something. That certainly falls to the hardship is not a result of a situation caused by the applicant's own action. That was one of the changes I made. So I hopefully tried to open the door up a little bit more for more compelling arguments that the pool is needed. We're just fostering 5 kids now, and we need a pool to entertain them. I mean, that's something we ought to take a look at versus, well, I just want a pool. I mean, that's what variances are, they're judgment calls. Okay. For now, my intent, because I think we're not going to vote on this tonight, it would be to leave these words as they are, but note, again, I remind you, this is stage 3. We're not even there. We've never been there in my knowledge. Okay, all right, that precedes my time in the city. Okay, other comments? Okay, no, fine, understood, understand the spirit of it. This is me sitting there writing and do the best you can. Why don't we can return back to it if we want. I'd like to move on to 159. Again, I sent out a summary of changes there. I would say the one thing, the attorney had a concern over definition of natural state, and I've gone back and looked at numerous definitions of that. There is none. And I think you saw my comments. First of all, other ordinances use the term natural state. The zoning ordinance does, with no definition. So this at least makes some statement that this is land that you're basically not doing anything with. There's nothing in Garden Ridge that's natural state anymore because it was grazed for the last 100 years before we moved here. I don't think I even changed the words. I'm just trying to amplify a comment that the attorney said, but I don't know any other good way around it. This is also the definition that was in the ordinance currently. I did not ever alter this one. Most of the others is just kind of trimming and cleaning up. Xeriscape is something to be aware of. This and the current ordinance requires the use of xeriscaping for any new landscaping or if you do repairs. If you read the zoning ordinance, it recommends it. The zoning ordinance also says if you have something more restrictive in another ordinance, that ordinance takes precedence. I think the requirement of xeriscaping is not inconsistent with what our goals are here. So I changed some wording here, but I didn't change must to recommend. I left it as a requirement. So with that, comments?
Well, first comment that I have, as Myers' definition thing, is,
Yeah.
under irrigation system, the ordinance 61 is almost the same, but it says dispenses water into the air onto lawns. This one leaves that out. I'm not sure if that's on purpose, but it's not consistent.
I realize that. I did that for a reason because an irrigation system can take many forms. It can be drip or whatever. I kind of think the other ordinance is probably not as accurate as it should be, because an irrigation system can be lots of things.
Well, I would argue that a drip system, a proper drip system, should negate the need to limit irrigation to 15,000 square feet or whatever.
Okay.
And if we're gonna have that requirement for people who do repair, if we're gonna add that requirement in there, to me, that's a non-starter, because they should either be grandfathered or not grandfathered.
What, the use of xeriscape plant materials?
The square footage part of that. We'll come to xeriscape in a minute,
Yeah,
but the reason
okay.
I made the comment on
Yeah.
the irrigation system is just that it's not consistent,
Okay.
and I don't, if it's intentional, that's fine, but it might be better to then say where you mean for drip to apply or not to apply, rather than have inconsistent definitions.
Okay. I mean, an irrigation system really just sets the stage for section 4, which details all the requirements, which specifies it has to show the types of heads, emitting drops of water versus spray, the use of a drip irrigation system where possible. So the guts and feathers, so to speak, are really in section 4. I mean, the definition of irrigation system is just, as such, like I said, is to define it, but doesn't, it could take many forms. But it does conflict with another ordinance, which,
Yeah, so you could say, use your definition and just say this includes spray and drip irrigation, just make it explicit.
okay.
Then there's no question why it's different.
Okay. All right. Fair.
And again, I don't want to go back to natural state, but you mentioned, so the part where it says, and I recognize it is the same as the current ordinance,
Yeah.
but it says are native to the area, and I think people could rightly complain on what that means. So I would
Yeah.
get rid of that, and then if you could, I don't have a problem saying remain in their natural state, but maybe say natural or unimproved state.
Okay.
And at least we're not arguing what natural means.
So, that,
So it would say like natural state means an area or areas of a property on which trees, grasses, and other vegetation which have remained in their unimproved condition or unimproved state.
yeah.
So so pasture land would count and everything
Yeah.
else.
Yeah, I like that, because I mean, we all know what that is. We've got a corner of our lot that the last thing that was done with it was a cattle eating on it 20 years ago. And it remained in its unimproved state, yeah. Okay, all right. I'll make that change. Thank you. Okay.
Then we have new landscaping plants means any plant or seed, and I get the intent here, but some other words were eliminated now, I'm not sure if it says what we want, so.
Okay.
It talks about any plant or seed, to accomplish reasonable establishment, maintenance of growth, et cetera, includes removal and replacement of existing landscape plants. And then later it says, application of grass seed, skipping the rest part, but application of grass seed to existing landscaping is not considered new landscaping. So we kind of use the word landscaping in a circular fashion. And it concerns me a little bit whether I know you're talking about overseeding, so
Yeah, the idea, top dressing, overseeding, things that we routinely do to our yards is not, would not fall under any of these criteria. That's the spirit and the intent. And there's words in the current ordinance similar to that. And what's not, maybe I could ask you, what's not,
well, maybe just say overseeding, mulch, topsoil dressing, or fertilizer to
okay.
existing
Oh,
landscape.
okay,
You know.
okay. Maintenance, I even thought of the word maintenance overseeding, something like that. Okay. That was my intent.
And-
Maintenance overseeding. Okay.
And then that gets us back to xeriscaping. My only comment
Yeah.
there is, well, essentially, the term xeriscape, it's one of those terms like, everybody, well, I know it when I see it, but
Yeah.
there's no real standard out there that says what it is.
Yes.
The standard that we have written here is so broad that it almost doesn't apply much of a restriction anyway. So I'm going back and forth in my mind whether I think it is even worth the argument at this point. But at a minimum, you've got a typo where it says previous hardscape. I think you mean pervious.
Oh, right, sorry, yeah.
But you talk about, I can have turf grass as long as it's drought tolerant. We got low water use plants to meet water goals, but never is it defined what the goals are. So, I mean, as written, it's vague enough. I don't know that it really restricts anybody from doing anything other than grasses that aren't on the approved list that's later in the ordinance.
You're right, and when you look at xeriscaping, you come up with suggestions. I think one ordinance makes reference to the Lady Bird Johnson Park up in Austin. They have plants, and you just go to a presentation, you see what the plants are. I didn't want to get, obviously, into that level of detail. And truthfully, like you say, I could not find, there is no specific definition. The spirit, I think, is captured. The other thing that the attorney has suggested is sometimes it's helpful to put an example, and I can do that. As examples of xeriscape plants would be available. There's several websites that provide that information.
And with that in mind, then, I think you could have, leaving a similar definition, you could point out that, new developments, contractors, whatever, have to offer the xeriscape.
Right.
But for replacement, I think you go with the previous ordinance and make it a recommendation. That way, you don't even get into
Yeah.
into that argument.
I struggled with that point. I could agree with that for sure. And that's covered, it's recommended. I see it. It's section 3B. Okay. Okay. Gentlemen? Richard? Anything? Okay.
I-
Steve?
Along that lines of
Yeah.
the repair replacement, so section 2A says this applies to any new repair or replacement. And then I think we were just talking about making in 3B, replacement or new landscaping on existing residential and commercial properties recommended.
Yeah.
And if we're still keeping the requirement in 2A or 3B, either one, is there a minimum amount for,
The old ordinance said 50%. If you need to redo 50% of your lawn, you're required to go to a drought tolerant plant. That's clear, I remember that.
okay?
In my experience of looking around, there's, well, I opted to go the other way, but your point is that this should be consistent with, if it's replacement
Right,
rather than new, it should be recommended.
yes.
Okay. Okay.
Well, the thing we were recommending was the xeriscaping. That's the term that's ambiguous. The drought-resistant turf grasses are listed in the ordinance. So,
I think what Chairman Stebbins, or Commissioner Stebbins' comment was, is that if you're replacing 20 square feet of your lawn, do you have to use, you can use your Kentucky blue that's there, or do you have to put in one of these drought-tolerant varieties?
that's fair.
Okay, all right. I'll go ahead and take a look at that. Repair recommended. I don't have exactly the right words, but I got your drift.
Got it, thank you.
Okay. You can't buy anything other than drought tolerant around here anyway. So but your point is well taken. Okay.
I think there was one other little thing here. And again, I know you're gonna hate me because you're on this, but the turf grass soil support with the 4 inches,
Yeah.
I mean, my yard's perfect. There's places in there where there aren't gonna be 4 inches, period, because there's rocks that come right to the surface. So are we gonna define, like, is it 4 inches in an average, like, 1 foot square? Is it, or is it just anywhere I put a poke down on the ground, it's gotta be 4 inches? I think that's too restrictive.
This one, interesting you mentioned, I met with City of New Braunfels, and their problem with new developments, the developers were scraping the ground clear, putting sod down, the homeowner would move in, and a month later it was dying. He said they learned through that, and this is actually SAW's definition. Now, we can massage it. I think this is pretty important, because whether you have existing soil, I kept thinking bringing it in. I had to do that on my yard. That they said this absolutely makes a difference in water use, is having good soil underneath your sod. And if you're gonna resod your yard, you gotta have, whether it's existing, measurement, I don't know. That's a fair point. I think this is important, because if you're gonna put turf in, you need to put dirt under it. Otherwise, 5 years from now, you'll be replacing it.
Yeah, and I'm gonna do it anyway, because we're living in, we have erosion problems and everything else with the changing grades around here and
Yeah,
the
that
rock
could be a
amount.
problem.
So
Okay.
if I'm living in New Braunfels down in the alluvial plain part, I can easily get 4 inches of soil to lie in my ground. It's hard to do here. So, but I do get your point. There needs to be something.
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
arguing about, is it 4 inches? And if it is, maybe we need to say an average or something like that, just so.
Okay, I'll look at that. This is a direct lift from SAWS, and in that, not that they're God or anything, but New Braunfels struggled with this and ended up copying SAWS, and they have 7 people that work on conservation, so I felt it's appropriate, but.
To
I
be
guess
clear,
we-
I
to
have
be
no
clear-
problem with requiring it anew. No problem with that. I'm talking about the statement here that we had to have, if you come in and repair your lawn,
Okay,
like if I got 2 inches under there now, I'm not gonna
Okay.
repair it by adding 4 inches in a small section.
okay. Does this satisfy if we just strike repaired? I mean, I don't know, then you start getting into when is, well, I'm just repairing my front yard, 17 pallets of sod, that's a new lawn.
I mean, that's,
Okay.
I don't have, so, for any new construction or installation of turf grasses, minimum of 4 inches, and then you could just say, for replacement or repair, a minimum of 4 inches is recommended.
Yeah, okay. Again, under the recommendation thing, okay. All right, let me try that. Comments on that? That's actually a pretty important thing, because it about doubles the cost of putting turf in, is when you put the right amount of soil in, but it makes a difference. Okay. Other comments, Jens?
You're gonna change 3 with natural state.
I'm sorry, Dr. Carmichael, what would?
Under section 3A, you have natural state, we're going to amend that as well.
I'm sorry, I'm not,
Oh, yeah, right to be, but I think the first one was in the definition, so now.
Right.
Go back to the definition, it'll say unapproved.
right, it'll remain in its unimproved condition. Got that. Oh, I see. Yeah, I don't intend, I mean, I think we need to leave the word, new developments where things are not left in their natural state have to use their escape. That makes sense. It's also very consistent with how other cities are doing it. If you decide to leave half your yard in natural state, so be it. But if you do something to your yard, improve it, then you have to use their escape if it's new, okay?
This is kind of minor, but section 5.
Yeah.
Could you, maybe we just put at the first sentence there, if used, a gray water recycling system must be installed. I mean, the way it kind of reads right now is you have to use a gray water system.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm not sure anybody would ever make that mistake, but
Yeah.
just to be clear.
Yeah, okay. Got that. Okay, the actions from this, I'll absorb your comments. Thank you, please. I appreciate all the effort looking at this stuff, and I'll do the best I can to get these words smithed right, and then we'll hear from the city about perhaps doing a public hearing at the next commission meeting, and then we can move it forward, and that might fit with the budgeting effort that's going on. Okay. Okay, if there isn't anything else, we're going to move on. This is section 2, item C, recommendation. Ordinance 210-102-022, an ordinance of the City Council, City of Garden Ridge, Texas, adopting board and commission policies and procedures, providing a cumulative and savings clause, providing for severability and declaring an effective date. Discuss the expiring terms of September 30th, 2025 for Dr. Carmichael and Commissioner Harshberger. And then item 2 will be making a recommendation to City Council for consideration of reappointment. I went through the ordinance. I don't know if there's a appropriate procedure, way to do this, other than asking, would you interested in being recommended for approval again by City Council for an additional 2-year term?
We went through this a little while ago, didn't we? Is there a term limit somewhere?
They took
No,
it
I
out,
read that, and
unfortunately.
there specifically is not. So,
If you don't have people lined up, then absolutely.
okay. Thank you, Dr. Carmichael, appreciate it.
In my case,
Commissioner Harshberger.
I'm looking at this thing, and I'm philosophically opposed to making Marissa edit her spreadsheet and add more blocks. So,
I almost added one just so you couldn't use that, and I was like, nah.
Too late,
I
too
don't feel
late,
like doing that right now.
I just, 10 years, I think might be time for new ideas, but I also don't want to say that I'll not do anything, because I know it's hard to find folks. So yes, you could go ahead and put my name in there, just understand that someone needs to keep looking, because there is a clock ticking.
Okay, understood. As they say, once you get the sale, stop selling. So, Dr. Carmichael, Commissioner Harshberger, thank you. I would like a motion that I make a recommendation to the City Council for reappointment of Dr. Carmichael and Commissioner Harshberger for an additional 2-year term.
Can't make that.
So moved.
Okay, I have a second.
Second.
Okay, no discussion, I see. Any discussion? Any discussion? Okay. I'd like to put it to a vote. All in favor of approval, aye? I won't ask for nays.
You're not allowed to do
Nays?
that.
Okay.
I tried that once,
Gentlemen,
years ago.
gentlemen, thank you. Moving on. Item D, future agenda items. Starting on my left, anything that you would like to consider adding to future agenda? Okay. Okay.
Did I miss the discussion of the wastewater system?
Go ahead, bring it up, because I was gonna, if you hadn't.
Oh, okay.
Uh-huh.
In what regard? Do you want a tour, or do you want to just have, go over a general discussion again of the wastewater system and where we stand?
Well, again, this is just it's just to list it. I'll chime in, this, because this was mine, would be to add to our agenda a discussion of a Garden Ridge sewage system ordinance. I'm not aware that we have one, and we have connections pending. And I've already started a little bit of work on that, looking at some other cities. So just to leave it as an agenda item.
I'm good.
And City Manager, anything if you want to modulate that so that we focus properly when we bring this up?
Okay, we can look at it as far as what and how that could be titled from that standpoint, as a wastewater ordinance, sewer ordinance, something along those lines. So,
Noted.
yeah.
Okay. Mr. Stedman, anything to add? Okay, so I think to clarify for the future agenda item, if the commission, and technically the commission has to vote on adding agenda items, I picked up on that. So I'll take it as a, doesn't, okay, that's the way I read it, but I think
Have to be brought up.
for the purposes of the minutes, I would say just discussion of a sewer system ordinance would be appropriate. Okay,
Yeah, wastewater.
Yes.
or wastewater.
There's only been 2 public hearings I've attended in the last 10 years that filled the room, and the first one was the water rates, and the second one was where we're going to have a sewer system, so we don't want to say that.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, wastewater then? Okay. Item 5, second citizen comment period. Anybody would like to speak? Okay. That being all the items on the agenda, this meeting is adjourned at 7:12. Thank you.
Given your comments, trying to get you to not want me back?
No, I have an amazing ability for punishment.